My name's host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People. And I'm the friend who's going to watch this football game with you, actually. I know you thought, I'm going to watch the football game alone today. No, I'm here. I'm here to enjoy the football game with you. To have a wonderful time together. This is just how I roll. When I spend time with people, I have a wonderful time. And everybody's always thrilled by what a wonderful time they're having as well. Everyone was always thrilled. Now I got the chat up. I got a split tab. Hello, Winston's mom. And more. Yeah. We're not just watching the football game today. We're doing all kinds of stuff. We're talking about things. We're explaining things, maybe. Maybe we're imagineering. Like the good people at Disney. Alex Holdfast. Hello. How are you? So I spent a lot of the morning working on my new piano song, which I will play for you what I have so far. Yeah, everything's good. Yeah, I mean, a person can just play the piano for endless amount of time, pretty much. You can play the piano for infinitely long. And hello, Netherlands, sometimes called Holland. You know, the Netherlands, also called Holland, where the Dutch live. You sometimes just drift off when playing it. Yeah, that means you need to go to sleep. It's a happy little melody song, true. And I asked Rachel to help with the lyrics a bit, and she suggested the lyrics reflect that mood as well. But last night when I was in bed, the song I couldn't stop singing was where is that? Here it is. I was singing this last night in bed. It's got kind of a similar vibe to the other song, really. Sombreros, 5 pesos each. Come ride my burro. piñatas, sombreros, 5 pesos each, buy my burros. Come with me to Mexico, a land that moves very slow. You'll find some sand and sun and fun when you visit down there, son. I said piñatas, sombreros, 5 pesos each down by the burros. So it was like taking a benzo. Yeah, I could fall asleep doing stuff like that too. I've fallen asleep while streaming plenty of times. One time I was so tired I was practically sleepwalking while I was asleep and like totally not lucid at all. Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus is the Mr. Mister of primary religious figures. You could also say he's the Lisa Lisa. Piñatas, sombreros, 5 pesos each down by my burros. That's the Mexican national anthem, featuring all the main things in Mexican culture: sombreros, piñatas, burros, sunny beaches, and dysentery. Everybody loves a little dysentery. SEA, Hawks. Oh, you're rooting for the Seahawks, huh? Well, currently, Hambone, that game's not on. We are watching the Eagles Niners right now. I missed the, oh, flan, of course. How could I forget flan? That's a critical cornerstone to Mexican society. It's piñatas, sombreros, flan, and of course the Mexican Navy. And it shouldn't shock anybody that Mexico has a Navy. They've got an ocean on each side of their country. They're so good they don't have to play this week. Along with the Denver Broncos, they also have a bye this week. Hambo, did you hear the story about the Mexican Navy back when it happened? It was some time back now, but the Mexican Navy took one of their boats. Maybe it's their only boat. I'm not really sure, but um, it was a wooden sailing ship, and they sailed it up to New York. And then they were going to go to Iceland, but as they were leaving New York, 4 minutes after they launched from the dock in New York, they crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. Yes, when they crashed into the bridge. And it's like, first of all, Mexico, what do you think you're going to do in this wooden sailing ship? Like, let's say that, I don't know, China sends some destroyers over to conquer some of Mexico. What are you going to do with your wooden sailing ship? How is that going to even help you? Come on, everybody, let's go fight a naval battle. We've got our cannons and our scimitars. You can't win a naval battle in a wooden sailing ship. You can't even win a battle with a bridge. But, I give them credit. They didn't make their boat out of Adobe. I think that was smart because I'm pretty sure Adobe's water soluble. Piñatas, sombreros. They aren't reliant on fossil fuels. That's true. You're right. They are planning for after the oil wars. But that was the Navy that crashed into a bridge. Yes, it was the Mexican Navy. At the time, I was like, wait a second, Mexico has a navy? But it makes perfect sense for them to have a navy. Uh, it's not like they're a landlocked country. You're here upstairs playing with your hair? Cool. Oh, I see you're answering TYYP. She's making her hair curlier than it naturally is. I'm not sure how she did it, but it's got extra curliness to it today. I didn't see her putting any curlers into her hair, so I don't know how she accomplished that goal. But one way or another, she did accomplish that goal. There. Doesn't sound like a very good navy if they can't navigate a bridge. Well, what I like is the fact that they as soon as they launched from the dock in New York, they immediately crashed into the bridge. You know, and one of the sailors said to the captain, "That thing that sticks up crashed into the bridge. It's called a mast." Nobody measured it. Was the problem? They all thought, "Oh, we're gonna make it. We'll make it under this bridge." Fortunately, they didn't damage the bridge at all because their boat was, 18th century technology. So I think they were well into a flat of cervezas. I think when the Mexican Navy goes off to sea, they bring an entire flat of Corona, and that's why Mexican Navy people never get scurvy because they're always putting lime in their beer. Does Mexico have an army too? But do they have an air force? Maybe they've got an air force like, was it Liberia? Liberia that has a space force? Or some African country back in the day, like in the 70s or something, who decided they wanted to have their version of NASA as well. The African Space Agency is a continental space organization established to promote cooperation between the space policies of the African Union's member states. What space policies? Our policy is we don't go there. The Zambian space program. The Zambian space program. Like,
Today there are many countries with their own space program.
well, only three nations have ever launched their own crewed spacecraft: US, Russia, and China. China just copied Russia's tech. In the 1960s, Zambia had its own space program. So their plan was to send people to Mars. Zambia was going to do that. We're going to Mars, see? With a space girl, two cats, and a missionary. Zambia warns Russia, U.S. will beat you to the moon. Well, you can see them doing space exercises right here. Here's how they train for their space program. Doing stretches, getting in that tube. Wouldn't it be shocking if Zambia actually put somebody into space? Hey, brother, you drank your goat's blood today yet? I'm prepping the ritual in your name. You like angry, you chill? You mean I look angry? I'm not angry at all. No. I am watching the football game, and I'm rooting for the 49ers, so I'm expecting a disappointing outcome because I expect the Philadelphia Eagles will win this game. Eric, can I get you with another old school YouTube joke? Sure. I wonder what the F-47 looks like, or has it been declassified? I don't know. I've not ever even heard of the F-47. Yeah, the British used to get called limey as well. Oh, just like the Mexicans, but for different reasons. Eric, I think I'm blocked. Can you unblock me, please? You're not blocked. If whatever you wanted to put here didn't show up in the chat, it means it got auto censored by Google. But you're not blocked because I can see what you're saying. Unless you mean a different account is blocked. Everybody else can see what you're saying too. It's just whatever you tried to put as the joke. YouTube/Google thought this might be questionable and didn't let you put it. Well, I can see you in the chat. If you were blocked, I wouldn't be able to see you in the chat. I don't know why you can't see you in the chat. That doesn't make any sense. Because even if you were blocked, you'd still be able to see you in the chat. I wouldn't. Nobody else would either. If you're trying to link something, can you check to make sure I'm not blocked? I mean, you can't possibly be blocked because I'm talking to you right now. If you were blocked, I wouldn't be able to see you. It's USA's latest long-range high-altitude bomber. The radar has the cross-section of the size of a tennis ball, and that's without all its fancy tech. Is that a small cross-section or a big cross-section? I don't know. I don't know much about planes. I mean, even if I were to go into the blocked accounts, I can guarantee you you're not in there. Because, like, if I click on the three dots here, it gives me the option to hide you, which means you're not hidden. If you were hidden, then it would give me the option to unhide you. Oh, that was the old school YouTube joke. Again, once again, I did not get it. But now it makes sense that it would be a joke for somebody to say, "Can you check to make sure I'm not blocked?" And when obviously, if I can read that, then they're not blocked. Happy Father's Day. Today's not Father's Day. It means when radar picks the plane up or radar, it would be the size of a tennis ball. Okay, but it doesn't answer the question, is that big or small compared to other planes? I'm well aware of all the members of the owner's family. And as I've explained to them before, it was ill advised for them to name their son Gabe. Very small. So it's hard for enemies to hit it because they can't pick it up on radar. Is that what you're saying? Every day is Father's Day in your book? Well, not in my book. I fortunately don't have to do anything for Father's Day because my father is dead. You don't have to celebrate Father's Day when your father is dead. Yeah, I'm an orphan now. They call me Little Orphan Eric. Should I smoke DMT before my college exam as an INTP? Well, you don't need to get any further in that sentence than should I smoke DMT? The answer is obviously yes. You don't need any contextual clues there at all. R in Haven can never die. I'm hype as fuck too. Lamau. Not only should you smoke some DMT, but you should come visit me and smoke some DMT with me too. Leave me like a few carts of it, please, before you go. If I weren't so dumbly lazy, apparently DMT is quite easy to make. But I'm no chemistry guy, so easy to make for whom is the question. How much does it cost? I don't know. I don't have any connect for it. If it, if I could buy some and it weren't too outrageous, I would definitely buy it, even if it were like $100 a card or something. The thing is, you probably don't want to smoke it right before you start taking the test because once you smoke the DMT, then you're going to feel cold. You're going to want to cuddle up in a blanket. What about LSD? Well, yeah, you should take that too. But maybe not at the same time. But you could do it at the same time, I guess. If you are going to take mescaline, I'd recommend you take it with mushrooms, DMT, or acid at the same time because mescaline is not a very fun drug by itself. And not very fun even when mixed with something else, but I should run for president. That's true. But I don't want to engage in some sort of gesture of futility just for the sake of it. I'd like to have an actual chance of garnering the population's attention before I were to undertake something like that. 1,535 mph. That jet is pretty fast. Well, at that rate of speed, they could go all the way around the world in like 18 hours. I'm talking about around the circumference of the equator. What happens during a mescaline trip that makes it no fun? I mean, it's super like I've heard it described as rangy before, but it makes you irritable. Like you're not necessarily pleasant to be around at all. and you feel kind of disrupted physically by it. But if you take mushrooms with it, then it makes it better. It makes both things better. Although probably I'd rather just take mushrooms than this one. But Mach 2. Mach 2 doesn't seem that fast. It's just 2 times the speed of sound. If they really want to impress me, they need to go at least 3/4 the speed of light, which is pretty fast. Irritable and unpleasant to be around. Physically disruptive. So what's the appeal? I don't know. I only really got it to work one time, and I didn't like it, so it's not something I've done since. It's something I could easily do because I don't even have to buy anything. I know where this certain kind of cactus is growing near where I used to live in LA, and I could go harvest some as they did before. It's like on the sidewalk basically. It's all grown out from this big bush, and it's poking out over onto the sidewalk, and it's a easy place to just go, and you can just cut some branches off of it, walk away no problem without having any conflict with anybody because it's not even on private property. Although it starts on private property, but it goes over into the sidewalk. So that tells you that I don't like that drug. If it's that easy for me to acquire as much of it as I want, and I only did it once, that was a day where I ended up, not purposefully, but I ended up asking a lot of Rachel because she had to deal with me all day. I can't, I was like, I can't believe they even call this a psychedelic. But then when I mixed it with mushrooms, I realized actually it does have some of those qualities. That's why everything is just completely melting now. Yesterday, I went to a new laundromat with new dryers and melted a sleeping bag accidentally using the high setting on the dryer while the manager was watching me. Well, you just say, there, I made sure your dryer doesn't get cold by giving it the sleeping bag. Thanks, darling. You're a sweetheart. No, I took mushrooms once before Rachel and I went to the county fair, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the extra motion. It made me feel kind of unsettled, disrupted. I can't believe a natural fungus can be a class A in the UK. It's illegal here too. It is weird that plants that you can grow maybe even wildly that they can be illegal to possess. But laws against possession are weird anyway. It's it has to be like it can't be illegal to be on drugs, right? Unless you can have, public drunkenness or something. In other words, basically disorderly conduct that links to taking a given substance, but they can't make just being high illegal because there's no way, first of all, to possibly know who's high. and and it's like two people could be in the same state of impactedness or impairedness, and only one of them be on drugs. The other one have some sort of medical thing going on or whatever. Also, just about every drug anybody wants to take, you can now get via prescription. How is the Eagles' right guard allowed to be standing straight up and slap the back of the center before the ball is snapped? Uh, I didn't notice that, Hannibal. I'll have to look at it. Are you thinking it should be a false start? He must come set again before they actually snap it. Hi, sir. Hi, sir. Any life advice? Are you going to give to a person? You going to give to a person? Well, my People ask me this fairly often, and the first answer I give is I think the best advice is don't give or take advice too freely because people tend to project their own experience and it may or may not be relevant to you, even if it's relevant to them. Well, they called it. They called it this time, Hambone. It looks like the referees agree with you. Hi, Popovich. Who's there? If it was man-made, I could see the point a bit better, but the mushroom is part of Mother Nature. I've got a doorbell. Use it. Johannes who? Johannes those beers and get out of here. Jags game was a good one. I didn't watch it actually. I it was 9 a.m. I started playing with this piano song, thinking I would just fuck around with this piano song until 10 and watch the football game. Well, guess what? By the time I was done fucking around with that song, it was like 1:30 in the afternoon. Yeah, advice can be different, although teaching the skill is advice can be dangerous, although teaching the skill is different. Life advice: do not eat yellow snow. Another piece of life advice is poop when you can, don't wait till you have to. Any plans on flying around the world? No. I don't like to travel. Do I like Eurovision? I don't think I get that channel. Is it a channel? I don't think I get it. What TV station was the Bills game on? Oh, maybe I just didn't have it set to record. That's why I don't have it. But that's fine. I want to watch this game. I like the Niners. They're my local team. And I like the Chargers because they used to be a local team for me. Oh, the Eurovision Song Contest. Well, I can tell you that at least a couple of fantastic songs that came out of the Eurovision Song Contest. Waterloo by ABBA actually came out of that contest, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But also, I can't wait to know. Believe me, I'll always be here so. Boom, 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 boom. You know that song? Baby, I can't wait to know. What do you think about things? Believe me, I will always be here so you can tell me anything and I'll listen. Boom, boom, boom. You guys know that song? It's a good song. That was the winner of the Eurovision Song Contest. Yeah, it's like if I were to give life advice based on advice that if I had listened to it at the right age would have been helpful to me, it would be advice about paying attention to what's really important to you, not being, you know, tempted by stuff that doesn't matter at the expense of stuff that does, etc. But that's because I'm FI polar. Holy shit, you look just like Fidel Castro did before he died. Well, one big difference between Fidel Castro and me is that I'm not retarded. I also don't smoke cigars. But the first one's more significant difference, I think. Opinion on 90s music in the USA, especially hip hop. Well, I sometimes have trouble keeping track of exactly what was from what decade, but might be a Halloween idea. I could do Fidel Castro maybe for Halloween, but I don't even want to dress up as an idiotic communist even for Halloween. Do you think you have an Alex to me? I think I have some extent, yes. I think anybody who's FI polar exhibits the symptoms of that to some extent, but less so than it used to be. Best advice: drink milk. Benjamin Franklin. I am opposed. I told you. You asked me this yesterday. I said the exact same thing yesterday. I am opposed to any new taxes. There's no, there's no way to do a good job of making somebody else pay for your stupidity. FI 8 would probably identify with that as well. 7 and 8 are both trouble spots, you know. There's no way to increase taxes without taxing Americans. And it's absolutely appalling and abhorrent for anybody to say, oh, let's raise taxes on somebody else, but not me. And to be in favor of that. It's just the most despicable garbage ever. Well, in that regard, if that's true, Putty Cat, then I'm glad California did that so that those people can get out from under California's ridiculous tax policies, and that California gets to incur the natural consequences of their butt fuckery. Payroll tax is not robbery because the federal government put a constitutional amendment into the got one successfully passed that allowed them to collect income tax. Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, that is more correctly described as robbery. The Social Security withholding, that is slow robbery because the longer it's been since they took the money out, even if they gave it all back to you, it would be worth dramatically less. Have you ever been perceived as too direct in social situations? Yeah, plenty of times. I'm not necessarily socially graceful. I make plenty of social mistakes. They pain me a great deal when I do. I'll get shame shivers thinking about past instances of me being awkward and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you know what's not a problem in the country? Too few taxes. That's not a problem. Some people who are culture warriors or something will say there are a big percentage of the population who don't pay any tax. Everybody pays shit tons of taxes, even the poorest people. They may not pay any income tax, but there's so many different taxes, fees, withholdings, etc. That everybody pays too much in taxes, and most importantly, taxes shouldn't be complicated, and they shouldn't be different for different people. If to the extent that they're different, it should be differentiated because, say, it's a consumption tax and that party doesn't consume that, you know? Well, then fine. But if you're going to take some kind of income tax from people, then it needs to be the same percentage for everybody. If you try to do progressive taxation, it will not work because you'll run into the same problem over and over and over again. The richest people, they don't they're not going to be paying a huge amount in taxes because they're not reliant on earned income or wages for having money. They already have money that's already been taxed. It's not fair to tax it again, and it's unjust. So, and of course, we couldn't conceivably sustain a wealth tax because then whatever you have in your savings account, the government can come take it away from you at any time when they decide to, if they feel like it, even though they already taxed that money and you chose to save what was left. If you have a wealth tax, then that's going to mean that you can't save things safely in US banks without being subject to having it seized by the government. Yeah, well, Social Security is not technically a tax. So withholding. I mean, I agree with you, Casey Jones, um, that we'd be better off, even if, first of all, the federal government does not need as much tax revenue as it currently gets. But let's say we wanted to keep it the same. We'd be much better off accomplishing that same outcome with a national sales tax of whatever size it needs to be to generate that much tax revenue. And the reason is because, foremost, that's genuinely progressive in the sense that rich people buy more shit, right? Um, yeah, well, it's because it's never a tax. If you die before you collect, then it becomes theft at that point. And it becomes theft in the guise of redistributionist nonsense. The thing is, it becomes really clear just how terrible Social Security is in that they could pass a law, not that this would be constitutional, but they could pass a law that said you don't have to do Social Security provided you invest the same exact amount as we would withhold in long term stable reliable investments like certain kinds of stocks um, or like those things where people pull money into, I forget what they're called, but they basically purchase commercial real estate and collect landlord monies from that. Something like that. The USC women didn't play yesterday, did they? If they did, I missed it. Why would the government tax someone's paycheck when they can't afford an apartment? Yeah. So that they can pay other people to not get jobs so they don't lose their free housing. The point is, when you try to do something other than a simple, flat, fair tax that charges the same percentage to every person, you end up with this massive industry that is just there to help people get more back from their tax returns or pay fewer taxes. You know, that industry of tax prep people, that's always going to be only successfully utilized by rich people. And the more you try to make taxation progressive, the more that skews in favor of rich people because the tax code gets longer and longer and longer and longer and more complicated. And so only people who are expert at being and getting and staying rich benefit from that kind of taxation. How will we agree on what's fair regarding protect a given percentage that's the same for everybody, regardless of wealth? Because what happens with progressive taxation? Let's say I say, well, look, I only make $50,000 a year, and Joe makes $100,000 a year. So you might say, what would be fair would be for Joe to pay twice as much in tax. Okay, that would be fair, I suppose. Instead, progressive taxation says, no, I want Bob here to pay less than half as much as Joe because Joe makes more money so he can afford to pay more, and that'll make him poorer and closer to Bob. Note, it won't help Bob at all, right? But when we have progressive taxation, then we end up with this problem. Wait a second, though. He may make only 50,000 and I make 100,000, but I've got 3 kids and a wife and she doesn't work. So that 100,000 is not going to go nearly as far for me. And so they go, okay, that's fair. Let's make some rules that allow you to pay not twice as much, more like maybe 1.5 as much, because you've got all these dependents to support. And then Bob says, but hey, I live in New York City and my living costs are way higher than Joe's over there. So why is it that his 100,006 kids goes way further than my 50,000 in New York City? Okay, well, let's change some more rules here to make it so that it's fair in that instance. But you can come up with infinite different ways in which you can articulate those things. And what you end up with is, what is the total page count on the federal tax code? Let's check it out. Remember, you could have a tax law that says everybody pays %. And that would be it. That would be how many pages of tax code you need. How many pages long is the federal tax code? The actual Internal Revenue Code, IRC statutes passed by Congress, is approximately 2,600 to 4,000 pages long. One source from 2022 puts it at 6,800 pages long. However, there is extensive additional documentation that tax practitioners must also navigate. For example, IRS regulations and guidance ranges from 9,000 to 17,000 pages. Case law and commentary exceeds 70,000 pages. So, if law is supposed to dictate to people how they act in some way, like you must pay taxes, how in the world can you mandate that somebody pay taxes when to do it properly, they'd have to read almost 100,000 pages of highly technical code? Right. Puttycat and I could make tax code in about 1 page. And we scrap all the income tax, capital gains tax, corporate tax, blah, 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 blah. Just have a national sales tax that could be whatever percentage it needs to be to generate the same amount of tax revenue. Everybody would pay it. Corporations, when they bought things, they'd pay it. Poor people, when they bought things, they'd pay it. Rich people, when they bought things, they'd pay it. Of course, the people who were richer and doing more economic activity and stuff are going to pay a lot more in taxes because they buy a lot more shit. I mean, it's really insane to think that I could get in trouble for not following the law in my taxes when it's, laws that are acceptable in society are things that anybody can read and understand. And of course, the reality is you can't basically get in criminal trouble for your taxes because of this reality. The only way you can is if they can establish that you're willfully trying to evade getting taxed, which is a fairly high bar to meet. Why shouldn't it be a crime for you not to pay your taxes? If we had a national consumption tax, it wouldn't even be a question that made sense, right? The only people who get in trouble would be the businesses for avoiding charging that tax or keeping that tax that they charge for themselves, right? People couldn't get in trouble because you couldn't evade taxes if it was just a consumption tax. Everyone would pay what they're supposed to pay. There wouldn't be these ridiculous, you know, one expression that I heard last night that Winston Baum mentioned, talked about a little bit too. That I hate in terms of art like this. Trump derangement syndrome. Same thing with uh, corporate tax subsidies. There are no such thing as tax subsidies. Corporations are not being subsidized with tax dollars when they take an exemption because Congress wrote that exemption because they're trying to promote a certain policy, right? Like, oh, well, Chevron is getting away with so many tax subsidies. Well, no, they're claiming green energy tax exemptions that idiots like you wrote into the fucking tax code. Tax breaks are not a good way to do public policy. It's like, again, why are we making taxes so complicated? Hey, I'm Bob, owner of Bob's Burger Store. We made $1 million in profit last year. How much do I have to pay? Well, do you have any green energy credits to claim? What? How about uh, employee safety record tax credits? Do you have any of those to claim? Uh, I don't know. Don't you I just tell you how much I made and you tell me how much I pay? Oh, no, it doesn't work like that at all. If you were to pay for how much you actually made, you'd have to pay so much money. We can't have that. So, you know, um, let's talk about whether you used a place in your home as a business space, because we can write that off. I sometimes do paperwork in the kitchen. Great. Now, would you say your kitchen is 80 square feet? I have no idea. Let's just say it is. It's 80 square feet, okay? Now you can claim this $40,000 of tax exemptions. Isn't that wonderful? I, I sure it's great that I don't have to pay so much taxes, but couldn't you just charge me a lower percentage? Charge everybody the same? Oh, we can't do that. We can't do that. We have to help poor people. Okay, I have this successful business and this is all going way over my head. So why are you presuming that poor people are going to be better at this than I am? Oh, no, no. They don't have to be good at it. If they're poor enough, then they don't have to pay any taxes. But, like, how do you even know if they're really that poor? Like, maybe they have a part time job, but they get most of their income from dealing drugs or something. Well, they're criminals. Okay, but that's not the point. We're talking about reality versus your imagination. In your imagination, you can know actually the amount of neediness a person has based on your means testing. But that's not how it works in reality at all. Anywho, hey Cameron, everyone is a parasite and controls its host. Taxes are the blood, and you are the donor. Taxes are the point. There should be as many as possible, and you should not understand them. Like, where did people's sense of shame go? Like, you get all these non smokers voting to increase taxes on cigarettes. If you're not a smoker, then you've got no business voting for increasing taxes on cigarettes because it's not going to impact you. That's just saying it's a good idea to raise tax dollars because we like to have more tax revenue for some reason. But I don't want to pay any of those tax dollars. I'm in favor of raising them for you, but not for me. Okay, you need to go fuck yourself if that's what you're saying, you know? That's just insane. What happened to people's common decency? Sense of like, I'm not gonna be ultra shitty like that. Like, you know, when you go to take your trash, oh, my trash cans are full. I don't go just throw my trash bag in somebody else's yard and say, well, you know, I don't have any more room. They probably do, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, it's not my problem anymore. The trash is in their yard. People don't do that with stuff like that. Why would they do that with taxation? Trying to tax people who aren't them. The problem is billionaires aren't paying enough money in taxes. How is that the problem? Like, in what world is that the problem? Well, because they're so much richer than me. Again, how is that a problem? If you're too poor, that might be a problem. I guarantee you, more tax revenue is not going to help you. If you're saying that, human, you better self identify as a fat person. If you're saying, let's tax somebody, not me, then you need to go fuck yourself. That's not cool. You know what would be great? If our school had a really fancy limousine. Okay, well, we don't really need that, so we're going to just all chip in from our pockets for this? No, no, no. We'll get somebody else to pay for it. Somebody not us. Then it's fine. Wow, kitty. Why do you meow at me? Why? Why are you so full of endless meows? But I'm glad you brought me over here, actually, because I'm reminded that I have food in my microwave that I forgot about. I'll go ahead and eat that. It's like if people want to raise taxes, you can ask them, do you like what ICE is doing, deporting all those people? They say, no, it's horrible. So then you'd say, well, why do you think the new tax dollars aren't going to go towards more of that? You can predict the future where you can select a carded ticket through your dash cam in your car, then you get a percentage of the fine. Well, at least in that instance, presumably the dash cam would have to show proof of the infraction being committed. That's no different than having a red light camera, really. I mean, you could avoid any harm from that by simply following all traffic laws. I don't think that will happen because I think people would object to it too much. But and you know, unpopularity does impact things eventually. For example, the 55-mile-per-hour speed limit was taken away at some point because people didn't like it. They thought it was ridiculous. Well, Mariposa doesn't have any stuff like that. Doesn't have any cameras and stuff. I'm a very like legal driver. Well, I mean, there are plenty of red light cameras in LA, too. I mean, I'm not saying California doesn't have it. I'm saying Mariposa doesn't have it. Really? I didn't know you went to Singapore. Did you enjoy your trip to Singapore? I know you can't smoke weed there. Oh yeah, there's plenty of that shit in LA, Bay Area, stuff like that, where there's this political movement called "Take Back Our Lanes," I think, or yeah, I think it's "Take Back Our Lanes." It'd be a better name than "Give Us Back Our Lanes." It's one of the two. It's probably "Take Back Our Lanes." And their point is, fuck off. Their tax dollars are paying for the roads, and you're sectioning out some lanes of the road and making them like premium lanes that you can pay extra to drive on. I already paid for that lane, motherfucker. Exactly. Toll roads are stupid because we already pay taxes for roads. There is a toll road that goes from basically the easternmost part of LA County to Orange County that I think is a private toll road. Like somebody built this road themselves, and I don't think it has to do with the municipality or the state. That whole big stretch that crosses may have been a single like ranch property or something. There's all these rolling hills and shit. But I don't object to somebody building a road on their own land and collecting tolls for it if that's what that is. I mean, it's a terrible idea in general. But if you happen to be in a place where you have a large tract of land and to get from there to here more easily, you could build a road here and you choose to build it and collect tolls, then I don't think anybody should have any objection to that because they don't have to drive on that road. For Bailey and W's wedding reception, the weather was so humid I couldn't take it. Yeah, they'll like give you the death penalty for smoking weed. It's ridiculous. There's a company that you sign up with to install the equipment in your vehicle and you go park at random locations. Yeah. Even things that obviously aren't taxes, like a penalty for failing to buy health insurance, are called taxes. What is the max percentage of your income? It should be taxed and given to the government. Should there be sales tax for states, local municipalities? If so, what percent max? Well, I think a better way to frame the question is what the total amount of tax revenue max the federal government should get. I'm going to say, I'm going to come in generous at $3.5 trillion. So, what percentage flat consumption tax would we have to implement nationwide to attain that income level? And you could say they can get more tax dollars in keeping with inflation. So get 2 or 3% more a year or something. And of course, if they get that because the economy is doing better, then they don't get to raise taxes also. They can lower them if they get over that, right? No tax on loss. Well, they're still taking a cut. You got to remember that there's naturally going to be intransigence regarding the amount of tax dollars they currently get, all of which are already pretty much allotted towards various existing programs. But um, I'm kind of factoring in what's politically realistic, I guess, because there's going to be a lot of pushback to cuts. There always is pushback to cuts. First, cut things that should only be the state or local level, such as DOE, get rid of Homeland Security, get rid of the DEA. We can get rid of ATF as well. Um, Personally, I'm not really sure we need a space force. Like, can't the Air Force just be named the Air and No Air Force? That would be better than having a space force, I think. The NIH, the National Institute of Health, I'm not exactly sure what they do. It's like I wouldn't get rid of the FDA, even though it's not really constitutionally within the purview of the federal government. I wouldn't get rid of the EPA either, because even though it's not constitutionally part of their enumerated powers, it is appropriate for the federal government to be in charge of environmental stuff because even if it's localized environmental harm, ecosystems connect without paying attention to state lines. That was pretty good, huh, Winston? I thought so too. Thank you. Well, close game at halftime. The Niners have just 8 seconds left to try to get in field goal range. I think they're a little bit outside of field goal range at this point. It's probably be a 60-yard field goal. There goes Purdy getting a first down and then going out of bounds with 1 second left. And I guess he's going to, they're going to kick field goal now. Get rid of the ACA, sure. That's causing economic harms, not exactly directly through taxation, though. Yeah, we need intelligence agencies. Look, we all Americans should be happy about DARPA and the way that's played out. It's important for the U.S. to have some technological advantages over other nations, and I know, buddy cat, I know that according to the Supreme Court, the penalty is a tax, but it's obviously not a tax because you can avoid it by buying something rather than pay it when you buy something. So it's very reminiscent of the Supreme Court's horrible decision in which they declared it's appropriate for the federal government to have jurisdiction over marijuana, even if you're just growing it in your own backyard for your own usage, because it's interstate commerce, because it will affect marijuana commerce in some way if you yourself don't have to buy it. That kind of reasoning. And Clarence Thomas correctly said in response to that, if that's interstate commerce, then everything's interstate commerce. A church bake sale is interstate commerce. Same kind of absurdity in calling the penalty that enforces the mandate in the Affordable Care Act a tax. Taxes aren't used to enforce mandates. If you're mandating something, then you are requiring people to do it. And either that requirement has teeth or it doesn't. If it does have teeth, it's in the form of a penalty for failing to obey the mandate. You have John Roberts to thank for that horrible fucking decision, Putty Cat. Although I will say he he left the Affordable Care Act more vulnerable than it otherwise would have been because of the reasoning. Like nobody has to actually pay that penalty. Nobody does pay it because it's still tied up in court cases. And of course, the reason it's still tied up in court cases is because John Roberts made it clear that if it weren't a tax, it would be unconstitutional. So I guess it could be a mandate without an enforcement mechanism. That wouldn't really be a mandate, though, would it? It would just be a suggestion, a request. Oh, yeah. By far, the biggest beneficiaries of the ACA are insurance companies and secondarily healthcare professionals. Because, they can always generate more income when they feel like it by simply ordering more tests and stuff. That don't worry, it's fine because no person has to pay for it, right? It's just the insurance company is paying for it. Days ago, the House approved a 3-year extension of expired healthcare tax credits with increased Republican support. Well, everybody should support anything that reduces tax burden. So, up to a point. We're so far from that point that I might just say everybody should support everything that reduces tax burden in the status quo. I don't know why Republicans would oppose that. Obviously, it would be better to have real solutions to these problems, like end all taxes on summer sausages. Oh, you sweet summer child. Severance, but many of them will find jobs in the private sector. Economic growth would flourish if we reduce federal government. It is true that the economy is not running on all cylinders because of the regulatory and tax environment. But it's not always the case that reducing the scope and scale of government is going to have positive economic impacts. Around here, Food City pays $11. You can't work full time or have benefits, but oh well. I'm sorry, Putty. I disagree on many levels. Yeah, the reason you can't work full time or have benefits is because of the Affordable Care Act. Because if because it mandates not just an individual requirement to purchase insurance, but also makes mandates on businesses and how they must behave if they're of a certain size or they have a certain amount of full-time employees, etc. $11 an hour is very, very little money. Acacia, the ACA does that. WMOM due to the hours, the floor. Yeah, that's the Affordable Care Act that costs all those full time jobs and and forced so many companies to restructure their relationship with employees because obviously um, businesses can't afford to just be told by the government all of a sudden, oh, you need to have $1 million increased outlays this year because of changes in what we require of you. They're going to have to either go out of business or change the way they engage with their employees. And of course, $11 an hour is a much different amount depending on where you live and what your costs of living are. In California, costs of living are very high. If Food City pays them more, what will be their real wages? After all, Food City would have to increase their prices. Well, I'm sure that's their starting wage. They probably have some kind of like protocol regarding getting raises and stuff. The single best thing that the country could do for the economy, health of the nation, and for healthcare in general is to make health insurance illegal. Make health insurance other than catastrophic liability insurance illegal. Because there's this incredible amount of economic strength that's being thrown down the garbage in in healthcare because it doesn't generate new wealth if it's not actually useful work for somebody. And it's not useful work to have people get unnecessary medical care, go to the doctor when they're not sick, get preventative health care stuff. None of that stuff is good. It's bad for their health and it's bad for the country and it's bad for healthcare as an industry. The only way to make sure that people use healthcare services appropriately is to make health insurance illegal so that everybody has to pay out of pocket and they feel the pinch of the decision as an economic decision. And then you also have the proper competitive impacts on the industry. Doctors would have to be competitively priced or earn their money. Like Rachel and I go to a not super cheap psychiatrist, and he doesn't take insurance. He only accepts out of pocket clients. Why? I'm not sure. He seems to be very opposed to the existing model with insurers and stuff, but I've never really gotten into his exact reasoning. I agree with you, Putty Cat. And the ridiculous thing, as I was indicating the other day, is when they actually have to face competition, they say, okay, you're not allowed anymore. Like it used to be that a long time ago that private debate schools that were coaching high school students could have those high school students debate as a member of the private debate academy in high school tournaments. But the public schools, on the full day long schools did so much worse of a job of teaching the students, which is what coaching debate is, right? That they always lose. And so they made it not allowed for private schools that are focused on just debate to compete against them because and they have a separate, like the best debaters, they'll in high schools will be on their regular high school team but have private coaching on the side, right? But but also those best debaters will compete in the regular high school stuff, that's your league tournaments and your high school nationals, but then will also compete in invitational tournaments and the tournament of champions, which is the real national championship that includes everybody regardless of their, you know, that doesn't discriminate against children for learning too much. That's how shitty public schools are. If you do a better job than them, consistently and enough better, then they will discriminate against you because they don't want children learning too much because it makes them look bad. When I had $300 a month health insurance, I broke my leg on a $800 scooter costing $25,000 to my health insurance company. Well, that's good return on your investment. But the thing is, if you had what I was suggesting as an alternative, catastrophic healthcare coverage, liability coverage, then it would have a deductible of say $5,000 or something. But then after that, it would still cover the cost. And if you were going to mandate any kind of insurance, I'd support that kind of a mandate. I mean, it's not still not constitutional, but requiring people to have catastrophic liability health insurance makes sense, so that if something really bad does happen, they're not unable to get health treatment, right? Like, but also that kind of a structured insurance will prevent them from getting treatment unless they actually need it. And the reason the ACA came about is it was purportedly a problem to so-called free riders, people who don't have any insurance and don't have money, and they still go to the hospital, and the hospital still has to treat them. I understand that's that if you're gonna legislatively require uh, people doing a job to do that job regardless of whether people can pay, then what's this live about? Well, right now it's about public policy. You're an animator and a comic artist? Well, that sounds fun. I'm impressed with people who can draw because I don't draw very well at all. I would say I'm very bad at drawing. Some people, especially the young and healthy, do not want insurance. Okay, well that's fine. But what I'm trying to say here is if you want some kind of security net for healthcare for people, then what I'm suggesting is the by far the single best way to do that. If you require people to buy health insurance that's high deductible, low premium, and pays for catastrophic things, then you achieve most of the results you want. You no longer are continuing to fuel an industry that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger entirely on the back of needless, wasteful stuff that they're doing. You're surviving to live, not living to survive. What's this life about? Is that really chosen? Well, it depends on the day whether I've survived to live or lived to survive. Okay, well, it's not a tax, though, Putty Cat. That is simply a bad decision. Aside from the constitutional argument, the catastrophic idea has merit. Yeah, I agree it is unconstitutional, but if they've already ruled that the ACA somehow passed constitutional muster, so it could at least return the concept to what it was always supposed to be, which was a way to solve a free riders problem, not a way to give everybody shit tons of coverage that they don't need or want and require health insurance to pay for a bunch of shit that's like just like upselling stuff, you know. Oh no, it's going to save us money to pay for a bunch of preventative health care stuff, you know, that tells people to quit smoking and such. That's not going to save you any money at all. You're just going to pay for people to go engage with healthcare professionals when they're not actually sick. There's no reason to believe that people's health or sickness has to do with whether they engage in preventative healthcare theater with healthcare professionals. All right, Kitty. You've been watched enough today. You just want me to be your little serving wench. But I'm not anybody's serving wench, okay? So just deal with it, Mr. Kitty. I have a typing session on Tuesday. Kind of nice to get one booked. I wonder if it had anything to do with the shorts I put up. Probably not. I've not been super. Yes, there's Medicare, Medicaid, disability. You know what's funny is the federal government actually did. You may remember me telling you this before. They actually did the hospice plan that I ran in high school and when I was debating. And what happened with the hospice plan? Well, it's just another way for people to defraud money from the government. Now you've got all these private hospice services providers who descend upon somebody with an older parent who has Medicare, like they descended on me, eager to get us every single thing we could possibly dream of getting. We can get you a new bed. My mother did not have a new bed, did not need a new bed. I didn't know this, but my dad had already bought her like the fanciest bed you could possibly get. And these people came in and they're like, "Oh, well, let's get her a new bed. It's better. It'll be better." And I'm like, "Okay," because I was running things because my dad was super sick at the time, and and then when they actually showed up at the bed, the nursing home called me and said, "Why are they bringing this bed? Your mom already has a way better bed than the one they brought here." I was like, "All right, well then turn it away. I don't want it." Well, the reason they wanted to get us to bed is because they take a cut out of everything that they do. 49ers versus Eagles and whore. No, not and whore, slow show media, and more. No, I'm well aware of just how expensive medical procedures can be. And I think it would be very wise of me to buy catastrophic liability healthcare insurance. But unfortunately, the Affordable Care Act has minimums for what kind of insurance what your insurance can cover, has to cover, or whatever. And there's no reason for anybody to buy insurance because the Affordable Care Act requires people to be able to get insurance even if they have pre-existing conditions. So just wait till you get the condition and get insurance done. Always got a bad feeling the Eagles are going to win everything. I hate the Eagles. I feel you though, Ruben. I would mildly appreciate if they lost this game. I would greatly appreciate it because I'm not just rooting against the Eagles, I'm rooting for the 49ers. They are my local team. Cavemen need insurance? Well, there aren't very many cavemen around anymore. Even people who live in caves probably aren't properly called cavemen. Who's the biggest whore in politics? Slutty my puss. I got a feeling that tonight's going to be a bad night for that tonight's games be a bad night. That tonight is going to be a bad night. Should I walk 15 blocks to get Indian food? Do you have some oxen to ride instead? My favorite winner would be the Bills or Texans. Well, I'm rooting for the Chargers or the Niners, but I would like the Bills as well. I've been fond of the Bills ever since they lost those 4 Super Bowls in a row. You can't help but root for them. "15 blocks just to be on the toilet for 3 days." Lindsey Graham. It's Slutty McCumpmypuss. The McCumpmypuss family is an ancient Irish line of lineage. ESPN latest baseball rankings out of the Athletics at 22. Really? I was saying to Rachel just the other day, I'm looking forward to the upcoming baseball season. We got a good sports year coming up. We got the Winter Olympics, we got baseball, we got March Madness coming up, and we got one of the World Cups, either women or men. I'm not sure which one. Did I read that the Athletics have to give up their name when they are in Vegas? I did read that they were denied some kind of trademark or something, but I'm not sure. The Eagles are my least favorite football team. Not sure why, but it goes to their aggressive loudness, I believe. Well, Philadelphia sports fans are notoriously barbaric, I guess you'd say. Take care. Is that really chosen? And by the way, the answer is yes, it is really chosen. Have you seen the Big Lebowski? He also hates the Eagles. I have seen it, but I don't really remember it that well. It was a while ago I saw it. If you want some thoroughly non-barbaric sports fans, go see a sports game in Los Angeles. Nobody really cares that much. I think the fans that kind of surprise me a bit are fans of teams that are bad for a long time. Like, if you're a New Yorker and you're a Mets fan, like, why not at some point just become a Yankees fan? You're gonna get pretty bitter after a while if you're a Mets and either New York Giants or New York Jets fan, but mostly New York Jets. Jeff is pure sex on a stick. Who's Jeff? Talking about Jeffrey Goldblum? Oh, Jeff Goldblum. Just kidding, Jeff Daniels. Jeff Bridges. The Bridges are a Hollywood family that includes Lloyd and Jeff. How does New York have multiple baseball teams? You know. One of them is for half the people, the other one's for the other half. Jeffrey was also the name of the giraffe at Toys R Us, but it wasn't spelled with a J. It was a Geo, Jeffrey. And Beau Bridges. Forgot about him. Yeah, I think all the Baldwins should live in a gated community with all the bridges, and they could call it Baldwin Bridges Gated Community. Sam Porter Bridges? Never heard of him. I need at least 3 Baldwins for every 2 bridges. Look him up. Look who up. Porter Bridges? Sam Porter Bridges. Okay. Search Google for Sam Porter Bridges. Oh yeah, he does look familiar. I've seen him in things. I don't know what though exactly. Yes, sir. My ass family can move into Baldwin Bridges too. Oh my God, Brock Purdy just threw an interception. Terrible. Ruben, are you the new mod? He's not a new mod. He's been a mod for a long time. How's Rich Liano doing? She's been messing with her hair a lot. She's making it curly. He used to go by Ruben R. You know? As in, like, Ruben, are you listening? Is there anybody out there? Themselves to town. dun, dun, dun. I'm pretty happy with that song, even though I wrote the melody line on the piano, ultimately, rather than, yes, I made it. I did. And I'm pretty pleased with my composition efforts because I spent a lot of time making sure um, it was composed right, and that I could play it as well. And I feel like I've gotten better at playing the piano and practicing that. Do we have ice in Mariposa? You mean like immigration ice? Not that I know of. Yeah, well, I will upload it when it's done. Um, right now it just has the snake jazz drums and two piano parts. I'd like to put a bass line underneath it, and maybe have Rachel sing this one. I think this is a song that's much better to have Rachel sing, probably. A couple streams ago, he broke into a good riff, and I think it was actually about pirates and used that tune. Yeah. I still think C.S. Joseph is an ENTJ. I'm not sure what type he is. He, he's, well, probably a TE Dom. That's most likely, but, um, it's hard to tell because, well, the way he presents stuff is not super SI. And, and the most likely other possibility would be ESTJ, possibly, conceivably ESFP, but I don't know. I can't say for sure what type anybody is who I don't actually type. And nobody should feel confident that they know somebody's type unless they actually get to type them. Because affect can be misleading, and people, how much people reveal publicly and how close that is to a representation of how they are non-publicly has a lot to do with their comfort and familiarity with being like on camera and stuff. Hot Topic. Does Hot Topic still exist? I don't know. But, I think got in some ways kind of similarities to it, but I'm almost just as fond, not really, but kind of the Mexican national anthem, which I think is also a great song. And in case you don't know, it goes like this. Piñatas, sombreros, 5 pesos each, come ride my burro. Adobe buildings marking the horizon. Chupacabras everywhere. They'll get a rise then. Piñatas, sombreros, 5 pesos each down by my burros. Tequila, siestas. Let's go on a quest to get some churros. I'm the feeling you get in the spirit of old Mexico. Makes you want to get on a sailing boat and crash it into a bridge. Become a celebrated part of their national pride. We're like the only country who ever crossed into that bridge. Oh, they played today? I missed it? Thank you for not telling me the score. I should have that saved if they're done already. Library. Piñatas. Sombreros. No, they didn't play today. Oh, no, they did. Oh, they played on Big Ten Plus. Okay, I do have Big Ten Plus, so I can watch that. They do. They did. If they played there on Big Ten Plus. 20 to 500, huh? You know, I watched a YouTube video titled "The Greatest Quarter Ever," and it was from a Lakers game in like 1987 or something like that. And it was the first quarter, and the game started by the end of the first quarter. The score was 40 to 6. 40 to 6. Yeah, UCLA stomped us, as did UConn, as did South Carolina. The top teams, the top tier teams, like South Carolina, UConn, UCLA, I don't even know who's third. They will stomp our shit because we're just not quite that level of good. But we can play with pretty much any second tier teams, but we may or may not win. Like we lost to Oregon after being up by 17 points in the game prior to today's. Piñatas, sombreros, 5 pesos each, run by my burros. Crash a ship, eat some chips. Come to my pueblo, and this is it. Let's go. It's the next cove rap. Let's go. Oh, get it. Oh, they're punting. Never mind. I thought they were the receiving team. I got a little confused there for a second. I'm subject to confusion. Piñatas. Well, you'll find yourself probably singing it like I was last night in bed. I can singing that in my head. Piñatas, sombreros, where pesos each down by my burrows. That's not your fave by them? By the Roxy? You mean Roxy Music? I've never heard of a band just called Roxy. I have heard of Roxy Music, though. I'm not familiar with their music, Roxy Music, but I don't really know what they sound like. When am I going to Hollywood again? When did I last go to Hollywood? And why did I go there? It's not like a place one goes to have fun. Say goodbye to Hollywood? Why? Is it going somewhere? Aren't there studio tours in Hollywood? Where there is the Universal Studios tour. I don't know about any other studio tours. I love you too. Well, sometimes in life you just fail, and that's okay. You can't always succeed in life. Everybody should just come to accept that. Only Superman can always succeed. And he has kind of an unfair advantage. Oh, wait. Why isn't this? Oh, I see. It's not plugged in. Let's see. I see. Superman fails too? Not in the end. He may fail for a while, but That's not really my favorite beat. It's okay, I guess. We got 3 different drum beats on this recorded track. Let's see about the third one. Merge the drums. Oh, there they are, huh? All right then. You pulled your neck when you were sleeping, huh? Sorry to hear that. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. You coming back again? Yeah, you are. on Tuesday. obviously. All right. What do you need help with?
Broken, it seems. Or I can't.
I don't know how this goes on there.
I tried to look at the other side.
Well, just be careful with it, I guess.
Okay.
For right now, I'm not sure. Let's see what the other side looks like. This doesn't seem to be attached on this side. Yeah?
It's like over here. See?
Well, I know, but there's a back one. There, I attached it.
Oh, thanks.
Alright, I got it.
Cool, thank you.
I think, hopefully. Just try to not pull out too hard. Maybe. Just kind of pull it out gently. Are you taking things out or putting things in?
I was putting this in.
Okay, cool. Alright, that's all the freaking out on piano that I'm allowed to do today, okay? No more of that. Remember, Eric, about how we're gonna be all grown up and responsible and stuff? And now look at you, just tweaking it on the piano like you're 40 years old. When really you're 54 years old. And too old to be doing that kind of nonsense. The wings were fire. Glad to hear about your wings. Well, the 49ers are ahead by a point. That's kind of nice. They had to travel to Philadelphia. Are INTPs boring? I mean, it depends on what you're interested in. I don't find INTPs boring per se, but it is true that I find excessively TI content boring, including stuff that I make. Depending on how TI it is, I'm more pleased with content that validates on other metrics besides TI. As well as hopefully TI, but like I'd rather have some of the NI pop than a lot of density if I'm making stuff. ISTPs are better. Well, I guess it depends if you want to have a conversation or do something else. If you want to have a conversation, ISTPs are gonna be broadly more capable of providing different kinds of options in that arena, and less capable in the actuality arena. Come on, Samba Ball, would you do this Samba? Do you can't control yourself any longer? Oh, you are a Samba Ball, do this Samba. Yes, you can't control yourself any longer. Bump, 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 bump. I'd say one of my greatest musical influences is probably Gloria Estefan. And my second is probably The Sound Machine.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then when they merge?
Yeah, well, as far as I know, they've always been merged, but I just was heavily influenced by each component of that group, so that's why I put them at number 1 and 2. You know how I do that? I dance like this all the time?
Yes.
I got that from Gloria Estefan.
Oh, wow.
Where's Taylor? I don't know. He's probably doing something in Kansas, or Missouri, or wherever he lives nowadays. Somewhere in the middle there. He's probably out having a good time, Going to the club, making it rain. What other things might he do for a good time? Eat some spicy popcorn. Come on, Samba Ball, now do the samba. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Just to point out the obvious, longer does not rhyme with samba. Sorry, Gloria Estefan, you're not fooling anybody pretending that samba and longer rhyme. Well, it looks like the field goal kicker is come out onto the field for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's trying to retake the lead. Eagles currently down by a point. Kicking this not super long field goal. And it's good, right down the middle. So Philadelphia is in front by 2 points now. I'm glad so far the games in the NFL playoffs have been close. Chicago came back and beat Green Bay. I kind of gave up on that game when I saw that Green Bay was took like a 21-3 lead at one point or something. And I was like, there's going to be a blowout. Actually, Bears came back and won it. And then after the football game in the locker room, the Bears coach gave a speech in which he said, "Fuck the Green Bay Packers." He doesn't like the Green Bay Packers. They had apparently a very brief and frosty handshake, the two coaches, after the football game. The Ole Miss game was entertaining too, Ole Miss versus Miami. I guess, who won that game? Miami? Miami won that game, huh? Yeah. I was for some reason rooting for Ole Miss. I just couldn't help it. I guess because Lane Kiffin was the coach of them, maybe. Or it's just like they're one of those teams that's always almost good in the SEC. I was kind of hoping, this year you get to be really good. But they lost. They lost to Miami. Yeah. So now it's going to be Miami versus Indiana at Miami's home stadium. That was determined before the season even began where they were going to play the national championship game. So you can't say it's unfair that every team, every year they pick a stadium, and whatever team plays in that stadium normally could, in theory, go to the national championship game and play at their home stadium. So it's, Miami earned it in some sense, but also got lucky in another sense too. There's an object, an object, an object, an object moving down into my butt. There's an object, an object, an object, an object. I'm gonna let it out soon. What is it? It's poo. P-O-O. What do you do when it goes into your butt? You gotta let it out. Let it out my poo. I'm gonna have to poo in a second. I'm gonna use my butt, and I think I'm gonna do the poo in the toilet probably. Just brainstorming possibilities here. Rachel told me she wanted me to stop pooping in the sink. So I should probably do that. Stop, I mean. Come on, 49ers. Don't be swarthy blinders. Swarthy blinders. Swarthy Blinders is a good name for a character in an Old West story. Swarthy Blinder. Don't pay him no mind. That's his old Swarthy Blinder. He can't open his mouth without telling a tall yarn. A tall yarn. The mix between a tall tale and a yarn. How many yarns can I tell if you give me 100 hours? I could tell a lot of yarns in 100 hours. I could tell some of them about yarn even. Well, I wouldn't want to be married to having to tell yarns only about yarn. Oh, I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of my lovely wife, Rachel.
I use your hands and I love you so much.
I love you too. I got to poop really bad, so.
Okay.
Can you hold down the fort for a minute?
Sure. Hey everyone.
Just not expecting Robinson to be this threat that he's been today. It's a nice route going on to Dory Jackson. That little stutter step on the in cut. I should have liked that throw by Purdy. A little bit behind.
You guys watching football too? Hey, show media. Thanks, I feel chill. Hey, psychic, y'all. No, it's cranberry juice with a lot of ice. Football was playing in the Fire Wings. What's that? What are Fire Wings?
Picks up 11. So good, setting up his blocks downfield. Bond overruns it. Kind of inside of his center there, Brendel, and then Bond overruns it, and he's back behind the cavalry. Great job in open space, continuing to blow people's minds.
Oh, chicken wing. Oh, that's nice. What kind of chicken wings do you like?
They stayed with that run game, even though that's been interrupted. There's John Lynch, of course, running things for the
What? Turn it down? Oh, yeah, sure.
12-win team playing for the 1 seed 2 weeks ago, and here they are on the road trying to beat the defending Super Bowl champs. Infield with the range already, looking for more. Once again, Purdy is in trouble. Purdy
I like their fire sauce, which is just like buffalo sauce, but stronger in terms of spice and flavor. Oh, really? I used to like, but I like buffalo sauce. But I used to have it with honey sometimes, so it would be like hot and sweet.
just hooks him with his right arm. Right on the hip with his right forearm. Enough to slow him down and bring Blankenship back into phase.
I like, oh shit, I have to turn down the volume. You're welcome, sorry for that. Mashed potatoes, I had mashed potatoes today. With the ribs and frozen dinner. No, not with gravy. Ooh, extra wet, extra sauce. That sounds good. Thank you, PP. I love it too. You need more food? Yes, you do. Wings are best served half submerged in sauce. It's true. The saucier, the better. Oh, trouble. Here you go.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, everybody, I successfully released excrement into the world.
Yay!
Most of the locations are around Sacramento and the Bay Area. As a bald guy, I love when people flex how much hair they have with unnecessary hair clips. Who's doing? They're talking about
Me?
Rachel? No, she's making her hair curly today, so she's having to do a lot of work to it. But what men sometimes don't quite get, I know I've been guilty of this, is having long hair is actually a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
3rd and goal for the 49ers. Touchdown. Wow. So the Niners will go up by 3 points here. No, they will go, I'm sorry. They're currently up by 4 points. They'll be up by 5 if they kick the extra point. Like I had fire sauce in my hair earlier today.
That's a lot of sauce.
Yeah, you still shouldn't eat your hair though. Oh, he missed it. 4-point game. That means if the Eagles score a touchdown, the Niners will be down by 3. It could go to overtime, potentially. One never knows. I had some excellent chicken tenders the other day at Black Bear Diner. I was very impressed by the quality of the chicken tenders. Man, it was affordable too for a sit-down restaurant. We both, Rachel and I got the same thing. We both got the chicken tender basket. I have had Raising Cane's. I do like it a lot. Raising Cane's is where when Delilah and Rachel and I were going through Raising Cane's one time, she explained her philosophy on chicken tenders, which is hashtag no dry bites. But I don't necessarily have to dip a lot of sauce onto my chicken tenders. I did get ranch dressing at the Black Bear Diner. But like when Rachel gets the buffalo sauce when she gets chicken tenders, sometimes that's a little spicy for me. Angry Chicks. Yeah, you mentioned them before. You seem quite a fan of that place. Extremely spicy chicken tenders, huh? I'm not a huge fan of extremely spicy. It's like, does it really need to be that spicy? Go through culinary phases. Oh, I've been on a bit of a Salisbury steak phase lately myself. We got Salisbury steaks yesterday in our frozen dinner purchase, or the day before, whatever that was. Yeah, we're gonna go out to eat. Yeah, we're gonna go to Frederick's of what's it called again? I don't know. We just call it Frederick's. I forgot its full name. Good tackle. Good defense. Frederick's of Savory. That's what it's called. Ridiculously. You balance between burgers, fish and chips, chicken wings, and chicken tenders. You gotta fish and chips can be really good, but you gotta go to the right place that's good at making fish and chips. And not every place is. So the Eagles, they need a touchdown here because they're down by 4. They're now facing the 3rd and 5 on their own half of the field. They've got a ways to go, but they've got plenty of time, 2:25. The Niners are going to need to get a defensive stop here. Question is just whether they're going to get it, whether they're going to force a punt, stop them within field goal range, or fail to stop them. Oh, he dropped it. Wow. Huge drop by number 11 for the Eagles. A stunning drop in a huge moment. It did get tipped a little bit at the line of scrimmage, but he just went right through his hands. When's my birthday? April. September. My daughter's born in September. I wonder if you guys are the same astrology sign. Because, astrology months don't line up exactly with the actual months. They should. It would make more sense if they did. It would be more convenient if they did, but they don't. You're a Virgo, huh? That means that you have the spirit of purity in you. You embody the values of the chaste virgin. I punched my info into one of those astrology tests. Delilah is September 30th. I don't know if that's Virgo or not. Like, I know not all of April is Taurus. Virgo sun, Pisces moon, Gemini rising. Hey, I'm also Gemini rising. Guilt. Delilah's a Libra. Well, that means that she likes liberty. She's a 3 life path, creative and scatterbrained. Well, she's pretty conscientious compared to me, anyway. It'd be interesting to learn more about astrology. Wow. It might be interesting, but I'm going to let you know a little secret, Gil. Astrology is bullshit. I'm a Capricorn rising, Gemini moon. My bad. Okay. My Gemini is not rising, it's my moon. Which means that Gemini orbits around me, whereas Capricorn is represented in my boner. It's rising. Yeah, that's fine. I don't try to shit on astrology really at all. I'm just kind of making a joke. I don't care. It's a fine enough way to engage with identity stuff via holistic intuition kind of units instead of parsed out deliberated units. That's true that she does know what to say. She's good talking on her feet. Numerology is the real deal. 3 is the number of the child. Can be good. Scam artists if they go that route. Oh. Delilah's not that like that. All I know about numerology is I go through phases of noticing 44, 444, 44, 44, 1144, 144, etc. Okay. Here we go. 4-point lead. But the Eagles are driving. They're at the Niners 20-yard line now in the red zone. There's plenty of time left. So the Niners, as I said before, are going to have to get a stop. There's probably not going to be a lot of time left after the Eagles score if they do score a touchdown. So good tackle. It's a nice sack. Not much of a sack. He's lost maybe half a yard, but if that D lineman hadn't made that ankle tackle, would have been a huge gainer. Who is the quarterback of the Eagles? Well, they don't have a super runny quarterback, do they? That's a false start. That left tackle got off his mark before the ball was snapped. Well, they forced an incomplete pass. It's 3rd and 11 now. Taro directly connects with the Kabbalah. Well, good for Taro. And good for the Kabbalah. The problem I have with the Kabbalah is if you're going to start with a Q, you need to have a U after that. Otherwise, it's not a legal spelling. Your daughter has good numerology, and being a tiger, good combo for staying young and youthful, aging well. Cool. Oh, pick it off! Oh, 4th and 11 now. If they don't get this 4th down, they still have 3 timeouts, so it's not over yet, even though there's 43 seconds left. The Eagles have all 3 of their timeouts, so the Niners are going to have to either get a 1st down or give the Eagles the ball back with at least a little bit of time. From a different angle, of course, should the Eagles score a touchdown here, the Niners will have time to drive down and kick a field goal because the Niners also have 2 timeouts left. Guilt, you're a water sign. Water represents feelings. Gemini is the messenger. Your rising sign is how others see you. And Gemini is an alt sign. Let's say alt, air sign. Air represents logos. Yeah, that's what I heard. I mistakenly told somebody that my Gemini was rising.
Oh.
No. That's my Capricorn.
Mm-hmm.
My Gemini is moon.
That's what my sun is.
What's that?
Guess what my sun is?
Sagittarius.
Close though. It's one of the 3.
Isn't that your sun sign? What's your birthday sun sign?
Capricorn.
Oh, Capricorn
is
okay. I don't know what made me think Sagittarius.
Well, Sagittarius is my moon, so it's a good guess.
Can't believe I forgot your astrology sign. What do you think about losing NATO, Europe, and Canada? Is Greenland that valuable? European market is pretty valuable. Also, strategically, Europe is important. I can't see the point. I think Trump's aspirations on Greenland are ridiculous, stupid, ill-advised, and obviously causing discord between us and allies unavoidably. But I think at this point, I think our allies realize that in its current incarnation, the United States cannot be dealt with like a sane Western civil society because our leadership is just so poor. Kirsten Dunst. I think she peaked doing her best work in Jumanji. She peaked early. A lot of people may not know she was in Jumanji. Actually, she was. I didn't realize that until not very long ago, but I was like, wait a second. Is that Kirsten Dunst? Yep. She was just a girl, little girl. Not super little. She was like, I don't know, 13 or something, 14. When she made that, she looked like she was having fun when she made that. Trump is making noise at Iran. We're off to an interesting start to the new year. Yeah. Well, it's like, it seems like the whole world's going to shit, so not shocking that that part of the world's going to shit too, namely our president and our foreign policy and so forth. So what is he saying here about the terror on the major con stuff? Each suit of the minor arcana corresponds to a Kabbalistic world, and the cards 1 through 10 represent the spheres on the Kabbalah. The court cards have something to do with the star signs, if I remember correctly. 2026 is a universal year. What's a universal year? A single digit number 1 through 9 representing the collective energy and themes for everyone in a given year, calculated by reducing the year's digits. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 is 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So 2026 is a universal year 1, signifying a powerful new cycle of fresh starts, leadership, independence, bold action, and self-awareness after the reflective endings of 2025, a year 9. Huh. Well, what do you know? Return or around the age of 42. There is a connection, and the patterns are there, but you are young to study the esoterics and the Kabbalah. It's not suggested one begin these studies until after their second Saturn return or around the age of 42. Oh, well. I mean, seems like a lot of things in life, like, that you can't be ready to study it when you are ready to study something unless you've already done some pre-work by trying to study it before you were quite ready. But that could be wrong. And I'm not sure the Kabbalah is something particularly subject to study, like, you know, I guess you could study it, but it's not really like you could study physics per se. Not that I'm saying you should study physics. Physics seems like it's pretty boring, probably. All right, well, we've got another football game coming on at 5:30, I think. Career-wise, I want to do something like computer science or chemistry. Well, you should do chemistry if you've got an interest in it, because if you do chemistry, then you can make your own drugs.
Basically, the synopsis of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that is. Chemistry teacher finally puts his knowledge to good use. That would be the nutshell summary of Breaking Bad. Yeah, I get it. I think that sort of stuff is probably true for certain types. Depends how, like, you know, philosophy is one of those things that like a lot of people get into it in kind of a casual way when and sometimes get completely immersed in it while exhibiting the most like distressing kind of Dunning-Kruger, which is exactly what say Noam Chomsky has done. He's gotten himself doing ideational work in philosophy adjacent topics, and he's totally intentionally not equipped to do it. And instead of realizing that he's not capable of doing it or doing properly, he just sets another example of how philosophy doesn't have to be rigorous. People don't have to mean things to philosophize. In general, there are certain areas where people are more likely to exhibit Dunning-Kruger than other areas, right? So people are not very likely to assume they they could do the job of an astrophysicist professor teaching a class on, um, you know, calculating the meaning of an observed wobble in an astronomical body or something. Most people aren't going to say, oh, I could do that just fine. I'd be just as good at doing that job, explaining this thing I totally don't understand, you know. But with philosophy, it doesn't work out like that because because philosophy is so removed from checking with observations. People like if you're calculating what a given wobble observed in a astronomical body means, in other words, it indicates maybe its orbit's being impacted by another third body, right? And you can determine certain things about that based on the data and calculations. And then, of course, in that instance, others can check your calculations for accuracy, and you can check the results against further observational data in a meaningful way. But with philosophy, it doesn't really work like that. Like, I can explain till I'm blue in the face how we ought to understand the word truth, what it means, and explain how the reason we can't get a single definition for truth that people will agree on is because determining the status of a statement as either true, false, or no truth value, the methodology you use to determine that status is going to differ according to what kind of statement it is. Descriptive statements about physical objects have a different evaluatory metric that you use than prescriptive statements about public policy, normative statements about legitimacy or whatever. Predictive statements, they have obviously a different evaluation metric and they get evaluated on a different time frame than do descriptive statements, which are presumed to be descriptive of something either in the present or past. I can explain that till I'm blue in the face. Doesn't matter. There will still be plenty of people who, instead of writing that down, and noting that now they understand what truth is will prevent some other ideas about truth. Like, well, I think that, well, the thing is, philosophy is not, let's all share our feelings about something. Hi there. What is your name? Oh, I do have my glasses with me. I can read, finally. Hi, Cloud Kicker. You been kicking clouds today? Oh, I need to do that thing first. Yeah, I gotta do something else first. Well, you know, being atheist is all fine and good, but wanting to argue atheism as a position is silly. Just as arguing religion as a position is silly. All day, every day, damn straight. No one's gonna make a monkey out of you. Remember like 7 or 8 years ago when everything was lit? Oh my God, that shit is fire. That came a little bit after lit, maybe. You're still trying to figure out your type. I've kind of decided to just stop connecting to particular types and just to gather information. Fair enough. I didn't spend really ever, I never spent any time at all wondering about what my type was. From like my first introduction to MBTI, I immediately tested as ENTP. I read the type descriptions and also fully identified with ENTP to the exclusion of all the other types. And no data has made me doubt that ever since. I've never experienced the feeling of not being sure about my type. Not one time. Like when I was first introduced to MBTI, I like took a test online when I was like in my early 30s or something. The first time I encountered it somehow. At that moment, I guess you could say I was unsure about my type, but I was like, I didn't even know what the types were yet or what anything meant. Grammatical errors. My brain has been a bit toasted lately. Well, that's fine. You don't need perfect grammar. I'm not even going to call you out on your grammatical mistakes. Just assume they're artifacts of typing onto a phone. And believe you me, I know all about how difficult it is to type onto a phone. It's a shame that the Eagles lost. Yeah, that is not a shame. Nobody outside of Philadelphia is sad that the Eagles lost. You know what I'm famous for saying. Eagles, schmeagles. You know, I've been a bit out of it lately. Well, we go through different periods of experiencing the self. Sometimes we're full of pep and enthusiasm, and sometimes we're feeling sharp, and sometimes we're full of lethargy and apathy and feeling dull. These are the ranges of things the experience provides us. Yeah, next up, Pats versus the Chargers. I'm rooting for the Chargers. Sometimes we are just full of it. And what it is varies. Sometimes you're full of optimism. Sometimes you're full of shit. Sometimes you're full of piping hot plan. Sometimes you're just full of curds and whey. Meow. You want to come outside? Or are you telling me to come inside? No, I'm not going to obey you. Just stop, kitty. That makes me mad. When he meows from inside the house at the door, not for me to let him out, but to tell me to go back inside. Just shut the fuck up, dude. Chill out. Full of ice cream sundaes. Mm-hmm. What seems to be used to be a lot more popular than it is these days? Banana split. Doesn't it seem like in the olden days at ice cream places people would get banana splits a lot? Nowadays nobody ever gets a banana split. Of course, if you're young enough, you might not know that there was a certain point, a certain date, I'm not exactly sure when it was, when all bananas got substantially worse because the super good bananas were hit by some kind of like disease or bug or something, and they all died. And now we have bananas that don't open properly anymore. It used to be when you got a banana, you just crack it and it would just peel. Nowadays, it's like, oh, you gotta fucking work it hard, and they're not as big or not as good. Bananas are not as good as they used to be. And if you're young enough, you might never have experienced the good bananas, and so not even know what you're missing. Does anybody know when that was, that those bananas went extinct, the good bananas? I don't know if they're all the way extinct, but like the big commercial growers lost all their plants and had to put in different kind of bananas. Somebody needs to make an automatic cat door that locks and is unlocked by a transmitter on the cat's collar reaching a certain proximity to the door. Well, what I would like is for that same technology to be used that when the cats go to a door other than the cat door, it says to them, go use the cat door, goddammit. That would be more helpful for me. We don't have any creatures going in through our cat door other than the cats because we've got like an airlock in the garage. They have to come in from the outside into the garage through one cat door and then into the house through another cat door. No, it did not happen in the 50s and 60s because I remember those good bananas. So it must have been they must have still had them at some point in the mid 70s. Why are you meowing at me again? I don't want to watch you eat. Nobody wants to watch you eat. But I guess we have to anyway. There you go. get to choose whether we watch the cat eat. Because none of us, certainly not me, can resist meows for very long before you just like, okay, I give in. You are not going to stop meowing until I obey. Not too much hair. I got it in a lot yesterday, I guess. You want to go outside, Kapita? Here's kitty number 2. Now Trouble will probably stop eating and want to go outside to bother his sister. He's that kind of dick. That's cool. I appreciate a cat who learned how to use a rotating chair. Okay, I guess I'm not hungry. I just want to go bully my family member. Is that what you're trying to tell me, Trouble? Yes, it is, isn't it? You know, I just want to go outside and be toxic to my family member. Go ahead, dickwad. Yeah, he's a real dickwad. I think that's probably the best slur for Trouble is dickwad. But, you know, asshole, narcissist, other things. That's how he came to be named Trouble. Was my dad said, "Here comes Trouble," when he saw the cat. And he came to be named Trouble. I need to get an extension cord. Alright, let's go do that. Yeah, dickwad is different than fuckwad. You know, if you were European, you might call him a cunt. We usually don't use that for males in America. Gross Michael Bananas, says ChatGPT. My grandmother used to have such a big avocado tree. It was enormous. It made so many avocados every year. And, you know, how many avocados did my grandma and my mom together combined use? Like, you know, maybe 12 per harvest, and there was thousands of avocados. My grandma had a cool house to play at when I was a little kid. She had a pool and a pool house, which is like a little clubhouse kind of, and her garden was like her backyard was like a jungle kind of, and then she had this gravel square that had an old school laundry line on it for hanging your clothes out to dry. The house was so old that it still had trash incinerator from back when they used to encourage you to burn trash and all that before all the air quality stuff. She had a fountain And then she had this like jungle of plants that you could go between the plants and the brick wall too. So it was a great place to play as a kid. She also had a side yard over on the right side of the house, but that was less fun. And my grandmother had dichondra as her kind of grass, which is a very high maintenance kind of lawn to have. So she was always trying to get me to go pull out spurge from the lawn with a fork. Spurge being a kind of weed that I guess likes to grow where dichondra is supposed to grow. I don't think dichondra likes to be a lawn at all because he's too wimpy for that. No, she did not have a milk chute, but my grandmother did consistently buy buttermilk. My great-grandmother, who lived till she was 99, she drank a lot of buttermilk, but my grandmother drank it too. I hated it. I was like, this is terrible. My grandmother thought it was healthy for you, though. She has old school thoughts about what was healthy, you know. My grandmother, for example, thought for sure that butter was healthier than what she called oleo, which was actually margarine. She called it oleo, though. I guess it's a super old school brand of margarine, maybe. It's like clovers on steroids that will cover your lawn and sprout yellow flowers. Oxalis? Huh. Yeah, I agree with those old school ideas of what's healthy. You know, I do believe that butter's healthier than margarine. I do believe that people are supposed to eat a lot of fat and protein and you know, meat and potatoes and stuff like that is best thing for you. I think, you know, the contemporary obsession with weight is unhealthy. People shouldn't be all like concentration camp skinny. Concentration camp skinny. Oleo sounds familiar. I believe it was a Depression era margarine, the one that came with a tube of yellow food coloring. Let me Google it. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Yes, that's why the carnivore diet is all the rage. Well, it's fine if somebody wants to lose a little bit of weight because they're feeling like, you know, encumbered by being heavy or feeling like they just would like to be a little skinnier or something. That's fine. But I'm talking about is like all these people taking Ozempic and shit. Like, just stop. In 1902, they obtained an amendment to the 1896 Oleomargarine Act. This new amendment taxed colored margarine at 10 cents per pound. I went from 140 pounds. You're telling me they charge $3.36 of tax per pound of margarine? That's crazy. That means that almost all the cost of margarine is tax. Of commercial regulation by passing the Oleomargarine Act, which defined the very essence of butter. So people began crossing borders to buy uncolored margarines. Oh, they only tax colored margarines. So Oleo said, well, you can buy uncolored margarine and we'll give you the dye. So then you can add it yourself without paying the tax. The spread was originally named oleomargarine from Latin for oleum, olive oil, and Greek margarite, pearl. That's why I like to call that band Margarite Jam. So people began crossing borders to buy uncolored margarine. Past the butter, state legislatures want to tighten. Wisconsin banned the sale of manufactured yellow margarine for 72 years, primarily protected massive dairy industry. Well, you know what? Nobody has to ban margarine for me to never buy it. I always get butter. Margarine is not good. I can believe it's not butter. All right, well, the football game is underway. Yeah, but I'll take less wholesome and fresh milk in exchange for reliably safe pasteurized product, I think. Granted, in probably more places than just California, but in California, there's this whole movement to relax um, relax regulations on craft produced stuff like raw milk and other stuff like that. And regardless of the state, a lot of things are determined locally. Like, you know, in Mariposa at the supermarket we go to, people bring their dogs in there. Sometimes like a big dog on a leash walking in the supermarket. That would never be permitted in a big city. Um, well, California banned single-use plastic bags quite a long time ago, and now if you want to get plastic bags at the grocery store, which I do every time anyway, you have to pay like 10 cents a bag or something like that. Or you can bring reusable bags if you wanted to. We never remember to bring bags, so. But you know what even Californians put their foot down about? Plastic straws. Do not try to give me a fucking paper straw. I'm sorry. No. Just no. Talk about utterly failing to do its job. Paper straws are terrible. Even Californians are like, fuck the turtles. We do not want paper straws. But you don't have to pay for them. You can not use bags, or you can bring the bags you were given last time. They give you more robust bags. So the single-use plastic bags are gone, and I'm not unhappy about that because the total amount of bag trash is greatly reduced. Like it used to be, you see those single-use plastic bags against every chain link fence all over the place, blah blah blah. Now you don't really ever see them anymore because the bags they give you at the store are much more robust and don't blow around so easily, for one thing. Does it actually help the environment? I don't know if it helps the environment because I'm still getting just as many bags as I always got, except now each bag contains much more plastic. But I do think it helps in terms of litter, which is nice. Beautification is worth something. Dogs at the beach sketch you out, mainly big dogs. Rachel gets a little sketched out by dogs as well. She doesn't like it when people don't have their dogs on a leash. Personally, I am a no leash person when I had a dog. I didn't believe in leashes. I'd put it on her occasionally, certain contexts, but yeah, well, they tried that, but there was a lot of pushback, and now I haven't seen a paper straw in a long time. I walked over to Jared's house the other night. It was very dark when I was walking in there, so I couldn't really see. And suddenly, this big dog charged at me from out of the darkness. It was not Lulu. It was Leah, the dog from across the street who hangs out down there. He's super sweet dog, but he startled me. And I was like, Leo. Hi, Leo. It's just you, okay. But he ran up to me because it seemed like he didn't know I was me when he ran up to me, like he was actually doing like guard dog job or something. He didn't bark, but uh, yeah, he's a real sweet dog. He's a crazy looking dog too, because he's got two different color eyes. He's a free spirit. He doesn't like being stuck at home. He'll just wander around. That kind of thing. Rachel doesn't like that. But she's comfortable with Leo because he's always, in every instance, he's always been super sweet. Even when he ran up to me all aggressive run like that, he didn't even bark. And when he saw that it was me, when I saw it was him, he was just super cool. Well, I think I might end this live stream now. And I don't know, do something else. So, thanks a lot for being here. I enjoyed having time spent with you. And I love you all, and I'll see you later.